Hey everybody, it's Dr. Drake 63 here, and it's been a little while since I've done an unexpected gun purchase video. Stay tuned, we're going to do one now. As a lot of you know, on my channel, I tend to be focused on tactical type firearms, ARs, AKs, things of that nature, Glocks. But I do have an affinity for what I call the classic style firearms. Taking a look here at this JM Marlin, which is a pre-Remington affair, lever action in 30-30. I like these kind of guns. I like lever actions, and but I don't talk about them probably near enough, and you don't see me shooting them near enough, and that's something we want to change in the next year. But having had this rifle for a number of years, and being very happy with the styling, you know, pre Remington acquisition firearm. It's beautifully made, and I've always liked it. You know, the next question becomes, you know, where do you go from here? Well, here's a little something that I decided to pick up today that I've been wanting a while, and that is a Henry. I think it's certainly appropriate here. Made in America, or not made at all. When it comes to lever action rifles, you're darn tootin'. That's the way I feel about it. But I've been for a long time wanting to try a Henry lever action. I've owned a couple Marlins. You know, certainly this 336 here, which is a great gun, great tree stand gun, and great just fun for shooting. But I wanted to try one of the Henrys in one of their pistol calibers, either the 357, the 44 mag, or the 44 Colt. So took the plunge. Today's unexpected gun purchase, well, a little bit kind of expected, is going to be the Henry Big Boy 44 Magnum. And this is how she comes in the box. We're going to get into how beautifully made this gun is in a second, but it's kind of funny. You can never judge a book by its cover. This is probably the most minimalist box I've ever seen. There's not a lot going on here. It's a well-wrapped firearm, and as you can see, this thing is a beauty. And it says, "Do not pull the trigger." What the hell kind of gun says that on? Oh, expect for ammunition first. I kind of get that. But this is how it comes. This is how it comes. It comes with an inspection tag. It shows that it was checked for ammo by several different people, so they really didn't want people getting into a situation where this gun was shipped perhaps after being test fired and you had an accident right out of the box. And you've got this nifty little sock here, and I'll show you what that is in a minute. But just in terms of what comes with this firearm, not much at all. It comes wrapped in plain round paper. It's got a nice instruction manual. This comes in a 20-inch and a 16-inch carbine version. And that's it. I think they pack the obligatory gun lock that must keep a gun grabbing company in business someplace. I don't know. Well, that's about as long as I can keep it shut. Looking at this thing, absolutely beautiful. As you can see, everything about this from a craftsmanship standpoint, from where this walnut joins the receiver, and the machining on the barrel, which is an octagonal barrel. An octagonal barrel which has magazine capacity. This will hold 10 shots, and I'll show you in a minute how this works. But this is just a beautiful firearm. It's robust for shooting a .44 Magnum. You know, it's not lightweight. It's gonna run you about 6 pounds or so. But what a beautiful piece of workmanship. And this brass receiver is just absolutely gorgeous, and I can see why they ship that with a sock. The .44 Remington mag. It'll also run .44 specials, although I doubt if I'm going to use that. But you can see, looking at this, that this has pre-drilled holes for scope mounts and the like, which I doubt if I will ever put on here. But you can see it has the buckhorn rear sight, which is adjustable, and then up front you have a brass bead, which has got some good visibility. But everything about this, and sans safety, guys, no safety at all. No safety at all. Your safety is your trigger. Your safety is be responsible and don't pull the trigger. But just a beautiful firearm. And works, the action works smooth as a daisy. Okay, so I mentioned that the action was right out of the box. Very smooth. I would say that this is at the point where my JM Marlin is now after being used for a long time. This is just like butter, guys. And then the trigger, very little creep in it at all. Weight wise, you know, I'm gonna put this as kind of like a mil spec AR, somewhere 7 pounds, 8 pounds, maybe a little bit less. But it's predictable, and it's about squeezing the gun. So, which is, we know, you squeeze the trigger, you don't pull it. But just in terms of looking at this, I mentioned I was going to discuss the loading of this and how it differs from the Marlin. You see right here, you've got a little detent there that turns in this channel. You got to put some pressure on it, and then you pull it out. Okay. So what you have in terms of loading is you put your bullets in here, obviously case end first, with the bullet being up, and you drop your cartridges in just like that. You can see when your last one is loaded. Like I said, it takes 10. This is spring loaded. Okay. So once you have your bullets in, you basically will drop this down and turn that over, and that's in there pretty good. That's a positive lockup. I don't see issues with that, which was kind of my concern when I was just exploring this before handling it. You know, is this something that's going to come loose in the field and this kind of thing? And the answer is no. Advantage to this over the Marlin system we're using a gate is going to be unloading, really, more than anything else, not speed of loading. So when you're in the field and you want to say unload this gun, you've got all your rounds or some of your rounds in it, it's a matter of just dumping them out, and you don't have to cycle each and every one. Okay, so this is the way that the first lever actions were designed, and it's a proven method, and like I said, it works. Okay, now comparing that to the Marlin, you're gonna load your bullets into the side. Because of this system, you might nick up the surface of the bullet to some degree, which can affect its flight, I guess, to some degree. But the big thing is when you want to go to unload, you have to cycle each bullet out, and that's going to scratch up your brass and so forth and so on. So I would say that the 336 or the gate style method of loading is going to be preferable, but unloading obviously is going to go to this. So this is a beautiful gun. It just feels great in my hands. The wood feels good. This has this particular style of stock. Reminds me a lot of the Winchester type of approach, and it's very thin coming up here into the tang of the receiver and so forth. Now, a couple things that you can do with this type of receiver, you can either put a peep sight up top, or you can mount a peep sight here on the tang that flips up. And not sure if I'm going to do a peep sight. One of the drawbacks just for me with a peep sight is going to be in low light, and that's when you have the scenario where you're trying to acquire something, you're in the woods, it's maybe 15-20 minutes after the start of when you can shoot in terms of sunup. And some of these peep sights, it's maybe a little bit hard in those environments due to lack of light. Here with the buckhorn sight, you have the capability right here, looking right here, it's open. So it lets some more light in, and I found that in lower light conditions, I prefer the buckhorn style sight. Now, in terms of total accuracy, if you have plenty of light, you're going to be more accurate with a peep sight. There's no question about it. But like I said, you have to consider, what are you using this for? So you have to think about the conditions you're shooting in, not just what are ideal range conditions. But complete with the brass band, holding the brass barrel band, holding the stock piece in place, the workmanship all the way up and down, the trigger, so impressed all the way around. And it's even some little things, like you can see on here, here's the bottom of a screw that starts here. So you're connected all the way through with this screw. And think about that in terms of how positive that's going to be in terms of holding this gun together. Very impressed. Like the Remington, the profile is pretty thin. So the ability to just pick this gun up and carry it just like that in your hand is there. Now, here it's brand new, so already I don't know, do I want to put fingerprints on that? Yeah, I do. They'll wipe right off, and this gun's going to the field for sure. But just taking a look at this setup right here, what are some differences? You can just look at them side by side. The Marlin has a hard plastic type of butt pad, for lack of a better word. Here you've got this beautiful piece of brass. It's definitely got that Old West styling. Not that the Marlin doesn't, it's just that this is kind of taking it a step further. I'd say the quality of this wood compared to this walnut stain here is superior. And until we go out and shoot it, we don't know. But it does obviously have a heavier contour barrel, shooting a less powerful cartridge than the 30-30. But overall, a beautiful firearm. Obviously shooting 44 Magnum, I'm not going to go out and shoot thousands of rounds a year through this thing. This is going to be one of the firearms that I will pass on to my kids, along with this Marlin right there, which is also, like I said, beautifully well-made gun. And you can't say they don't make them like they used to, because this is brand new firearm. This is not, but this is a brand new firearm. And just in terms of putting it in the hand, and as you'll see in a second, working the lever and things of that nature, my hat's 100% off to the Henry Firearms Company. This is beautifully, beautifully done. Earlier, I may have mentioned that this was a flip-up buckhorn sight, And it is not. It is actually affixed at this angle, so it's not going anywhere. It's adjustable simply with this spring. You lift this up, and then you see right here this ramp, it's notched. So basically, if you want to have a change in your elevation, you lift that up and you go to a different notch, and so forth and so on. So it comes from the factory, just like so. I'll get my dark face out of the way so you can see. It comes from the factory just like so. And like I said, I've always done well shooting at with buckhorn sights at the distances that you typically are going to shoot a 30-30, or in this case, the 44 Remington Magnum. And that's going to be inside 100 yards. And realistically, for the most part, under 75, 50-yard kind of shots. And that's where your 44 Magnum load is going to be most effective anyway. You know, once you get out past 50 yards, you start to see some pretty good drop and loss of energy. And let's face it, if you need to fire at 100 yards plus, this isn't the firearm you want to use. This is more of a brush gun. Now, there is, this is a 20-inch barrel. There is a 16-inch barrel. It's a carbine model. They call it the carbine model. And took a good look at that and decided that, because this isn't very heavy for me to carry at all, you know, you're basically lightening it up by 3/4 of a pound to a pound. Because of that, I don't have a big interest in knocking off the little bit of extra velocity I'm going to get out of that 44 Remington Magnum cartridge. So that plays a big part in my decision to want to get the longer barrel. Also, the other thing is you know, as an open sight shooter kind of firearm for me, one that's never going to see a scope up here or any kind of magnified optic, I want the longer sight radius from front to rear. It's just going to help with accuracy. So those are my two reasons for not getting the shorter barrel version. The next question that I think a lot of guys are going to ask is, hey, Drake, why are you getting a 44 Magnum anyway for a hunting cartridge? And you know, again, it's not the best hunting cartridge out there if you're looking at longer distances, but for a brush gun and typical tree stand in the woods distances, it's going to take deer, not a problem. And ballistics on a couple common 44 mag rounds, you see that you're north of 650 foot-pounds. You only add to that with the extra length of this barrel, so plenty of energy needed to take a deer small game. It's just a matter of making sure you have the right ammunition and correct shot placement and that kind of thing. So I suspect that much more than just a hunting firearm, that this is going to be a firearm that I just enjoy shooting for targets and fun, blowing up milk jugs at 50 yards and things of that nature. So we'll see how accurate I can shoot it. We'll make our next video will be shooting this at 50 yards, trying out several different kinds of ammunition. So definitely excited about that. And let's finish the video again by taking a close-up look at these beautiful firearm components and craftsmanship that goes into this particular rifle. This is the Henry Big Boy in 44 Remington Mag.